Good afternoon. Welcome to the May 21st, 2024, 1:30 p.m. City Council meeting. At this time, we'll stand for the pledge and prayer by Mayor Pro Tem Perez. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you join me in the Lord's Prayer today? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. And at this time, we'll have questions and comments from anyone that would like to speak. And I see none, so we'll move on to the city manager's monthly report.
So as you can see, we've got, a really heavy agenda today.
Yeah,
So mainly yours, but that doesn't mean we don't have a whole lot of things going on. I will just mention, that tomorrow at 9, we do have a press conference on the 828 sports thing that is by invite only, followed by a 10 a.m. Q&A for the public. The press conference will be broadcast on Facebook and all of our social media, so it'll be available to everybody to see. And then, of course, we'll pretty much go through the same thing in the public forum setting right after that. So I'm not going to talk much more about that. We've got a lot of information already out there about that and a lot more coming. So invite everybody to check into all those social media platforms tomorrow for that.
And that's at 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. at the Dome. Yeah. And there again, like I said, it will be on Facebook and our social media platforms so that people can watch it at their leisure. Finances, you'll see we're still, expenses in general fund are a little over budget now, but of course, those are all still tied to our fire and all of that. For the most part, we're doing pretty good there. You'll see in the financial report, the charts are a month behind on the financial report, so we're doing good. We did invoice the industrial district contracts, which is our big bump in June. So financially, we're still doing pretty good. Sales tax in the general fund, this month was down just a fraction from last year, not a whole lot. Overall, year to year, we're still up just slightly. But you'll notice that we are still well above our budget amounts because we do budget that pretty conservative. So overall, on the revenue side, we're doing pretty good. On the water sewer, everything is right in line with our averages and our budgets as well, both revenue and expenditures. Revenue is still over expenditures. Of course, that will change just a little bit in July when we make our bond payments for all of that, but that's still looking pretty good. Hotel occupancy tax still remains strong and over our budget and our 5-year averages, so we're doing well in that as well. So talking about some of our active projects, since we last met, we have transitioned 10th Street to the south side, so you are driving on the newest portion of the road. Like we talked about, and I will mention, yes, we know there's still a 2-inch gap between the curb and the pavement, because once the entire street is complete, they will go back and top coat the whole. So right now, since we've got so much concentrated traffic on one side, you don't want to put your finished pavement and get it overly worn down while you've got excess traffic. So once both sides are done, they'll add that final top coating. Excel has removed all the street lights and the poles in conflict there. So today, if you go by, you will see Milligan is milling up the old pavement on the south side. Keep in mind, we have very few utility issues on the south side. A good chunk of the work on the north side was the utility relocations and the new water lines and the gas, which is why we started with the north side. South side should go much quicker. At the rate they're going, depending on weather, we should be transitioning or opening probably all lanes of traffic sometime in August. Overall, I think you can kind of see what the finished product's going to look like now, and the north side's really kind of good. I know we've had some pushback, or not necessarily pushback, but some comments. Keep in mind that the entrance into Meggert is different now, so we can keep the storm water in the street versus sending the storm water down the parking lot. We do know there's a low spot in the parking lot that will be addressed when we do the other part of the parking lot, and everything should be well. And we get the same time every time we do a parking lot, we get comments on the islands and that taking up parking. Keep in mind, we do have ADA requirements that we have to meet to allow accessible paths. We've got sidewalks going through there now. Overall, since we are formalizing the very back row of parking, that parking lot is actually gaining parking spaces from what was there before. But it will also have some trees and some landscaping and some lighting, and, you know, it already looks a lot better. The electrician, they should have shipped the streetlights this week, I believe, or last week, I can't remember exactly when they said, but once they get here, they will go ahead and put the new streetlights up on the north side and get them wired and get them functioning. So I think that'll be kind of excited to see that. As we're talking about streetlights, if you go down Main Street, you see our lights are in for the last little bit of our downtown revitalization grant. So we're adding the pedestrian lighting and the matching parking lot lights there in the parking lot across from the Morley. Yes, I know that that is somewhat of a random of an area. It was part of a grant. We did have limited funding. No, I could not go the rest of the way. You know, that's just where we're starting. Yes, we would like to have that lighting down the entirety of Main Street, but no, we can't do it all at once, and we will continue doing that as funding becomes available. Contrary to some belief, you know, we are maintaining fiscal responsibility as we do projects and making sure that we don't raise taxes anymore.
Yeah, really.
So I will remind people, as the appraised values have gone up by 20% in the last 3 years, the city tax rate has gone down 25%. And if you did notice your tax bill or your tax appraisals come out, the appraisal district did have the 20% homestead exemption on your bills that the council passed for this year. So I am of no illusion that your tax bill might have gone up, but if you pay close attention, the city portion of your tax bill has not. We did get our bids back for the Johnson Park swimming pool project. It's a little higher than we thought, not undoable. I think the big high cost was for new slides. And so we'll have a work session in June to kind of talk about that. Park Hill's currently reaching out to some companies to see what it costs to just rehabilitate the current slides. But I do still think that the project's within our doable budget range, but we'll have more information about that, and we'll probably award that at the next council meeting based following our discussions in the work session. And our downtown downtown pocket park is progressing. So they've got all the electrical rough in and the landscaping rough in going, so we should be seeing some pavement there too. So now as we go through departments.
You wanted to say paw.
Well, we were talking about the next, the next party is on the agenda, or on the calendar for later this summer.
We don't need to be dogging it or anything.
As we go through our departments, planning development, big news there is Shelby Webster has passed her floodplain administration certification, so we are now compliant with a certified floodplain administrator. So that is quite the ordeal. If you want to know more about it, you can talk to her or Brandon. We're very proud of her for finishing that. We've also started 3 of our 4 seasonal workers, and the 4th one will start soon. So we're going down the alleys and the right-of-ways, trying to keep all of that up. We do have the employee this year spraying weeds in the right-of-way. If you remember last year, we kind of had some issues with that and had let go an employee, so that kind of went by the wayside last year, but that is back this year. So as you see the blue markings on the sidewalks, we only spray the right-of-way. So that has started in Public Works, but that's a little different. They have working up their plan review for the Brahms renovation. If you haven't noticed, Brahms had put out they're going to be closed for 11 weeks during that renovation. I think starting sometime in mid-June, so it's a pretty extensive renovation, which is, I think, beneficial for their business and probably our community as well. I know growing up that my grandparents would not get milk anywhere else.
Yeah.
And they're busy and getting ready to gear up towards our Yucca State development. If you haven't noticed, the D.E. Rice Construction has signed their contract with 712 Homes, the developer that's executed with the EDC for that project. So we do have dirt work going on our housing development. So we are finally getting actual work done and getting closer to having some homes here. Planning and development's making sure that they're ready to get all those inspections and get permits issued once we get closer to getting the houses going. But at this rate, I would expect housing starts sometime late summer, early fall. So
When do they plan on start awarding bids for the houses or whatever you're gonna call
the
it?
712 will be doing the homes as well. So the developer is actually a home builder.
Right.
So they're contracting with Rice for the development of the lots, but they will build the homes.
Okay.
So they'll be handling all of that.
And they'll sell them.
They will build them and they will sell them. They were looking at putting 4 or 5 down to start with, to get some floor plans out there for people to see. Personally, I think they're probably gonna sell before they get their floor plans down. We've had a lot of interest, and I think that's only gonna continue. 712 is working on a press release with the EDC, and we expect probably a more formal press release and some signs coming out later this week or early next week, so we'll get some more information on that, but we are moving forward with our housing initiatives as well. In OEM, Christina Burrow and Dispatch has completed her NINA Advanced Center training, so we're going to be able to get her to start doing some more training for our dispatchers in-house versus sending them off, so we're excited about that. Also, Whitney Schultz was awarded the NINA National Silent Hero Award for her professionalism and behavior in dispatch, so we're excited for that national recognition. We do continue to get those things that show that we're doing the right thing, moving in the right direction, and committed to professionalism. On the emergency management side, we have switched our generator maintenance contract over to a new Generac certified contractor out of Amarillo, which seems to be working pretty well. They actually, for the first time, brought spare parts and actually, did some maintenance, so we're excited about that. We did complete the wildfire after action report at the Dome. That was facilitated through a team from the National Park Service. We're grateful for their assistance in that facilitation. The report should be coming to the county judge pretty soon, probably this week, maybe next week. Overall, it's pretty good. Some of our biggest takeaways, we're working on working through some of our radio programming, reprogram a couple radios, especially law enforcement, to make sure they've got some of those coordination channels that they need. Overall, it was pretty positive, and we've mentioned that before. Our radios work much better in this, even though there's always room for improvement. They work much better in this one than any of the previous fires since we had our new system. I will tell you right now that if I threatened to take their radios away, and give them their old radios back, probably both chiefs in this room right now would probably pound me to death with the radio. So we are glad to see all of that stuff. We are trying to work with the carnival. It's supposed to be here this weekend. They have submitted their permit not in time. We are trying to work with them, but we need them to secure the abandoned, buildings. We're asking nothing of them than what we have asked in the previous 2 years. However, we've not seen any progress on that.
Is that out there on?
It's at the Borger Shopping Plaza. And so keep in mind that landowner is paid to allow them to be there, but it is our job to make sure that we provide a safe environment. And right now, those structures are unsecured. And I don't think you want kids running around with the ability to go into unsecured structures. We had some of that problem last year. They didn't get their porta potties there in time, and so the carnival staff was going inside and using buckets as bathrooms and then pouring said buckets down storm drains. So while we are not requiring anything new, the landowner is very well of our requirements because he's done them in the last 2 years, but as of today, with the carnival likely showing up here tomorrow, they have not complied. And so there is a chance that we will not issue that permit. And if that happens, I'm sure we will take a little bit of flack, but it is definitely a public safety issue.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't think
That
anybody
should
would
be.
be very happy if their
No.
little kid snuck into a little building and got hurt or worse.
No.
And we definitely don't want some of what happened
Yeah, we don't want that.
last year. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that that is coming. We are trying as much as we can to work with them, but, those buildings are gonna have to be secured. To me, that's non-negotiable, so. And the fire marshal's also working.
And that's just a law anyway.
We have to permit them, we have to make sure that everything's done within fire safety. Right now, it's unusual for those to be around abandoned facilities, which adds a little bit of that. The particular landowner also has outstanding abatement invoices for things that we've had to do. I am not requiring them to pay that in order to get the permit, which I could.
Right, makes sense.
But I'm not going, I know that sometimes the community likes the carnival, and I understand that part of it. So I'm not gonna get into using this as leverage to make revenue, but I am going to be, I and all of planning and development is going to be quite stringent on the security of the structure and the safety of any resident or any people that might attend.
Yeah.
I'm sure that
Makes sense.
that's not how it will be portrayed in the public when and if it happens, but I did want to get y'all involved and throw some of that out there, just let you know that could be coming. If they get the building secure and comply, we will accelerate our timeline and issue the permit, even though the permit says it has to be applied for 15 days prior to the carnival. The carnival starting Friday, we were notified last Friday. So, we are not being unreasonable, but just fair warning. Of course, HR has been busy with all the seasonal hires. We've just about got all of them started. We'll talk about swimming pool, but it's getting ready to open. Park Rec's getting ready to start. And so that always does a lot of that. We've also been working through our NeoGov implementation for our new applicant tracking system and onboarding system. That'll give us a lot of cool tools and make it a little better for us when we recruit and how we interact with our new hires and get them kind of seasoned and adapted to our culture as they come on board. So we're excited about that. Finance has also been super busy here lately, mainly with 214s going through all of the fire reimbursement things. We have talked about our expenses being up a little bit, but it is a FMAG fire, and so we will be able to reimburse that. From a little bit of what we're looking at, our TIFMAS reimbursements are likely going to be close to $400,000, and we probably got another 150 or 200,000 on the FMAG side. So, I mean, we're looking at $700,000 of revenue still outstanding, give or take, depending on how that goes. I do not know when that will come in. I think the TIFMAS funding will come in this budget year, but the FMAG funding likely will be next budget year. So we will likely have some unanticipated overages in revenue next year that will offset our expenditures this year. But overall, considering we had a massive disaster, our finances are not over, and I think we're going to be close by the end of the year, probably breaking close to even anyway without that. So I think we're doing really well with all of that. I will also, Terry took the initiative to reach out to Tyler, and we did get a new processing rate for our credit cards. That they have a government processing rate, which saved us a little bit of money on our credit card processing fees, which has allowed us to move to eating the fee. So if you pay online, pay by phone, or use the new text to pay feature now, there is no fee.
Oh, that's good.
So it's exactly the same cost as you mail it or drop it into the city. So I know that we've dealt with a few people that were a little less than happy about that, but prior, what we had said before is that, we've kept our water rates pretty low, and so we added that fee, so we didn't have to add the rates up, increase the rates to cover it, so only those people that actually used it had to cover it, so we were trying to be transparent in that. However, now we've got the revenue offset, the savings offset to cover it, so nobody has to pay a fee now. So if you would like to set up for online bill pay or auto draft or text to pay, and you were only not doing it before because you didn't want to pay the $1.25 fee, well, the $1.25 fee is now waived. So we do.
Surprisingly, you get lots of phone calls about that $1.25.
And then, of course, we're starting to work on updating our fixed assets as we get ready for next year. In utilities, we are back to drilling test holes up in the northwest well field. We have drilled 12 so far, and we'll finish up today. So far, most of the 12 we've drilled are not exactly good. We're still well under budget of our test hole drilling budget. I mean, keep in mind that when we originally did that, they drilled I think 150 test holes. So it's not uncommon. Hopefully we'll find 2 locations that will produce the rate that we're hoping for. We should know by next week on some of that, or if we're gonna have to schedule them back out to after we identify some new places. We've also replaced another 1,200 feet of well line in the west well field. And normally this wouldn't necessarily be news, but based on some of our history, Chris and Mark always like to remind everybody, or let us know that our sewers are still running. So everything's no manually sucking out the manholes, because right now everything is still fixed. The bid for the other sewer project is back out. We should have that probably at the next council meeting after we stripped out the 3rd Street. So we are working through that. Of course, Stella has very happy in Secretary's office now that elections are over. So she got another year till she has to deal with that, but she's got most everything, filed and finalized and put up. And of course, we dealt with our side of that at the last council meeting. And then we did have court last week. So Michelle got to wear her other second hat because Evelise was out sick, and so she's definitely been busy the last couple of weeks, but got all that going. So in the fire department, we did have 6 firefighters graduate, or 6 employees graduate from the fire academy. Last month, 4 of those were on the fire side and 2 were on the EMS side. On the fire side, those were our fire recruits. So now, for the first time since June of 2020, the fire department is full staff.
Very good.
Good job.
Actually, they're one over right now who's been assigned over to EMS to help offset the EMS. If you recall back when we've been having so many of these shortages, we have authorized both the police department and the fire department to go heavy, knowing that there's some built-in turnaround.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we have to pay a little bit more, but we're excited about that. They did get, like I sent y'all, Tower 1 was delivered last week, Wednesday. I don't know why I thought it was this week. I knew it was last week because times got a little fast. But, after a contract period initially of 530 days, we got it after 799 days. So, but we are excited to have it. That's still a lot less than the 1,300 days. We're getting to wait on the new engine. But right now, we're planning a push-in ceremony Saturday, June 8th. Still got some graphics and some final equipment to get before it gets into service for us.
What kind of ceremony?
They push it into the bay. So that's like the official ceremony to put an apparatus into service.
I see.
And so if you'd like to come, everybody can put a hand on the big truck and
push it.
push it. They put it in neutral and they push it back in.
Well,
And
how cool.
yeah.
Save on gas.
You have, instructed me to be efficient in all city operations, so we're gonna.
Called manpower.
Well, and that one might take, I'm not for sure if, even in neutral, if the fire shift if the fire crew's enough to push that thing back, it's all there, which is what we paid for, so I do think we did get what we paid for there. But if we don't have everything in place June 8th, it'll be the next weekend, but we'll get that posted out and publicly advertised as quick as we can, but we're very excited to have that truck here. We also did celebrate the 1-year anniversary of operating EMS service last week, so we're finally, it's taken us about a year or two, but they're finally kind of getting leveled into and getting some operational things figured out, so we're still very excited to have them as part of our fire department and the service and that we provide to our communities. Looking at where we're at with revenue and expenses in the fire department, we will operate at a loss this year, but it will be at a significant lower loss than what the subsidy would have been. So we're pretty close within kind of where our projections that we put out there were. So we're actually call volumes up a little bit, but some of the calls, there is a significant portion of those that are indigent and non-funded. But you'd be surprised how much we're doing. They also, fire department also completed first aid and CPR training for our park rec and lifeguards as we get ready for the summer season, so that's quite a few through there. And we did have, I know that we did notify y'all of the fire at the warehouse at Tokai. So during that fire, we did lose some bunker gear and SCBAs. So we will be billing Tokai for that cost. They're aware of that, but I have authorized the purchase of that equipment. It's about $80,000 worth. There will be a revenue offset of that, but in your next report, you probably will see those expenses. That PO was approved. I think I did that today. So we didn't charge them, they do pay industrial district contracts, so that they're not getting a personnel cost or truck cost, but that industrial district contract does not include the ruining of equipment. So they are aware of that, and that is not uncommon when you have incidents with carbon black. You just can't get that. It's hot and you can't get that stuff out, so it contaminates it and makes it unusable. And then TIFMAS, the fire mitigation crew did respond to a 2-day TIFMAS response in Potter County here just this last week or two for that smaller fire they had in Potter County, so they continue busy with that. Of course, Public Works been busy coordinating and helping with 10th Street. They did do the temporary striping in the parking lot. We kind of missed that, but the plans and the project didn't include temporary striping. And so we didn't want to open up that half of the parking lot with nothing. You know, so yes, we know it's not the greatest striping, and yes, we know it's not perfect. It is not meant to be perfect. It is temporary until the project is completed, when we go back and add the final striping, the curb stops, and all of the other accoutrements that will be added at the very end. But we do appreciate streets kind of getting on that and getting ready. We have also bought the sand now for the beach bash, so don't forget the beach bash is coming up June 1st. It's actually the first Saturday of June is June 1st this year, so that'll be downtown. Don't forget, we do have Lemonade Day as part of that, so make sure that you go down whatever block, we get that set up and partake of the entrepreneurial lemonade of our youth.
Yeah.
So bring some dollars.
Right.
I'm not for sure that the youth kids will take, or do they take Square?
I'm sure some of them will.
But we do want to, recognize those kids that are taking the time to learn a little bit about entrepreneurship, put some time and effort into their lemonade stands, and make sure that they take care of that. We are currently installing the new toddler play equipment in Huber Park, so that has finally come in, so that will be open here shortly.
Thank you, Jason.
So that's the
And
last one.
Winston.
Little bit to that. Parks have had to do some work out there, some French drains and some other things to get that ready for them, but that is going, and I think will be a good addition there.
Cool.
We also have finally planted 12 of 15 trees that we budgeted this year. I know that we get some comments on that. Yes, that is part of our budget. We've had eight trees go into Huber Park, 2 into Skittles, which is technically North Hughes Park, and 2 into South Gateway Park there by the apartments. And so we still have 3 trees coming when we get those in. We also do have the baseball lights taken down.
Looks
So
nice.
we're still working through that. I would kind of like to, this is kind of an opportunity for me to kind of address a few things with sports fields and lighting and stuff like that. I would kind of like to remind you to keep in mind that we make no revenue on our recreation fields, any of them. There is no offsetting revenue coming to the city. We don't charge for their use. We don't charge the college. We don't charge the school. We don't charge the leagues. There is no revenue at all coming in. So when we look at big capital projects like this, we have to take some of that into consideration. Is it fair if we have to issue debt? And we've talked about this. We have identified a new youth sports complex as a need for the community. That's $15 million for a new youth sports complex. That would be, if we issue debt, which it would have, it'd have to go to an election. The state's changed that. So debt for parks have to go in front of the public. And if it were to go in front of the public, the tax rate for the city would be more than 20 additional cents on our tax rate to fund a $15 million debt issuance. That's because our appraised value is only about $450 million. The total county's appraised value is closer to $2 billion. So what is 20 cents for the city's taxpayers would only be about 4 cents countywide. So is it fair for the city of Borger's taxpayers to fund all the debt for all of these rec fields that are utilized by kids and families in the entire county without us taking any revenue back? And so keep in mind, that's some of the things that we've got to think about when we decide where to invest money and those quality of life, because that debt would have to be burdened 100% on those that live inside the city. Or we'd have to look at different revenue models, start charging for the use of the fields, and that requires a whole different conversation. Now, when we talk about issuing debt for fire trucks, a fire truck, the citizens of Borger get the vast majority of the benefit of that fire truck. It is entirely right and necessary for the citizens of Borger to pay for that fire truck. With recreation fields, that's not the same. So just as we look at that and as we address some of that feedback, we have to be mindful of that. So $400,000 for a new lighting system at a field that is mostly used by the school district, we have to be mindful of what we're using that money for, what it offsets, and how much our citizens should be burdened. The school district is much larger than the city limits. It covers a lot more area, and they've got a lot more tax base. So I know we've talked about this, but this is kind of our opportunity to get it out there in a public forum too. There is a lot more to it than just we should do this. So we do have those ideas identified, but we do have to work through funding issues and what's fair to our citizens. We do have all the splash pads opening now, so don't forget there is a secondary option in Buena Vista Park now. Yes, I am aware that it is a smaller option than Huber Park. It was never meant to compete with Huber Park. It was to give another option. And I think we've worked through some of that. I think some people have been pretty, using it pretty good. And then again, the first day at the swimming pool will be May 29th. We will be doing free admission on that day like we normally have. So if you need to go cool down on the 29th next week, we'll be there.
Boy, it'll be nice to go to walk down in it instead of to climb them stairs to get back out.
Well, you can remember that to the next meeting when that's in front of you, for
I will
approval.
remember that.
And the police department, animal control has passed their state inspection. They did get some positive feedback from the state inspector on the cleanliness and the progress we've made in improving the shelter. So we're very pleased and proud of Daryl and the work that the animal control is doing. They've also now completed 175 vaccinations through our vaccination program, and that, along with some of our improvements, has drastically improved the distemper problem we were having last year. So we're seeing definite improvement in that. So we're proud of them with that. They also, the police department then participated in Water Safety Day out at the Park Service, took some equipment out there so that the kids, it's kind of like they do it up in the parking lot, so it's kind of like a touch a truck. So we're out there with that. We also provided training to the West Texas JP and Constables Association for the constables when they're in here. So our police department trainers did legislative update and some firearms training using our new laser simulator while they were here. So we got to show off on that. We did have overall lots of positive feedback from the JPs and constables, and it was much, much better than their last year's conference that they had in Lubbock. So hopefully maybe we can convince them that that should be a regular thing here. But for a dome that isn't used very often, it's actually used quite a lot. PD also participated in Baby Animal Day out at the college. We've completed an intermediate crime scene training. We have hired a new officer now, a new certified officer. He's actually certified in Kansas. I give him a little bit of credit. He spent the last several months doing a lot of hard work and making sure that he was certified in Texas to be able to move down here. He does have a family connection to Borger, which is part of the reason for the move. So we do have him down here and are glad to have that. We also have 2 officers in the police academy doing well. They should still graduate on time in August. So while the police department's not quite full staff, we are making progress there as well. I think in both departments and really citywide, and as you look through performance measurements, the thing that we really want to kind of focus on is the turnover has slowed. So while we are being meaningful in what we hire and what we replace, we're not seeing those leave like we have. So I'm confident that all of that will continue to move forward. And the big news in the police department that we definitely want to recognize Daryl Fisher, who's our SRO at Paul Belton. He is getting a State of Texas Law Enforcement Achievement Award this year for his Pizza with a Cop program. So this is the second year we've had an officer recognized at the state level, and so we're definitely pretty pleased with that, along with our dispatcher earlier. Anytime we can get recognition by our peers and outside agencies, we are definitely going to try to do that as much as we can. That shows that we are, definitely committed to improving and serving our community. So public engagement's also been busy. We did have our Moms in the Garden sip and shop. Went quite well. We actually had people from Bushland and Canyon buy tickets to come over to the sip and shop.
Being a college level. I think they work for the chamber over there.
Well, y'all can't go, so.
So I do, to me, that is a reinforcement that they were doing the right thing
Yeah.
when people from other communities are paying to come participate in our events so they can spy and get ideas for their community.
They just can't take our people.
Well, I'm not doing my job if our people are tempted.
That's
Right.
exactly right.
And so I don't think that,
That's exactly,
while they
yes.
might have been tempted at the moment because they were dealing with the actual event, I think, after they sat down and thought about it, they probably were not. We also did complete our reality check event at the Dome. If anybody got by to see that, that was actually a pretty big success. I laughed pretty good because really what was funny was Jerry Langwell, because he was participating as sheriff, and so almost all the kids, the first thing they did was go and get the car, right? So they get signed up on the car, and then Jerry walked up to him and was like, "You got a car?" It's like, "Yeah." "Did you go get insurance?" No, so then he'd write him a ticket for no insurance. And it wasn't long before everybody caught on and they were avoiding Jerry like the plague.
That's hilarious.
Terry, our finance director, she was the SOS booth, and she was fairly tough with them. She wasn't giving them anything free until they had taken some effort to, it's like, did you really need the car that big? Have you thought about a roommate? Have you thought about eating out less? So, I mean, they didn't get the charitable help until they were,
That's cool.
Who actually directed that?
Deidre.
That's what I thought. So.
Yeah. And the other, I gave the insurance companies a hard time because you wouldn't believe how many, they go to the car first, then they got their ticket because they didn't want to go get insurance. Then they went to insurance and talked to the insurance agent, and then they immediately went back to the car dealer to get a different car. So I do think it achieved what it was supposed to, and there was good conversation with those kids. I think Deidre pointed out at our meeting yesterday that by the time it was done, after everybody went to the child care counter, I think only 2 students ended up having kids. They all decided.
Oh, boy.
I was wondering if their insurance went up because they got a ticket.
I think next year, that's what we talked about. This year, we kind of kept it fairly simple, just because we didn't know, we wanted to make sure each volunteer booth was, they could do things quickly and, but we talked about that. Next year, I think we're going to make it a little bit more intense because they were done. We kind of predicted about a 2-hour. It would take them about 2 hours, and it was pretty close. But I think we could have gotten a little bit more in depth. So next year we're going to have a little bit more insurance deductibles and things like that. I think we're going to have more chance cards. April Davis did a really good job. She ran the chance booth, and she did a really good job of coming up with different circumstances for them. But I think we're even going to make the kids you draw how many kids you get from the chance booth and all of that. And
Yeah, we've talked about that. It's not making kids a choice
Yeah,
completely,
yeah.
But it was really good. They really did think about things, especially when they went to Terry to they thought they were just going to get their free voucher and go on about their business. And she's like, no, you need to make some better decisions. And so they all were like, okay. And
You go, Mama Terry.
yes. And so
That's good.
I think at the end of it, there was some kids, one of them was $7,000 in the hole.
Oh, my.
And then,
Working 3 jobs and,
so, but we had a lot of really good feedback, even from the kids. They were really engaged with it. They had fun, and I think running from Jerry, that was funny too. You could help a lot.
That's funny.
It's funny thing is, it's like, well, I gave them a free pen. But we did have lots of good feedback both from the school and the volunteers that participated in the booth. I think it'll be easier to get volunteers next year.
Yeah, the ones
because-
we had were fantastic, and I think again next year I think we'll have even more. And I mean more booths that, especially the same type of booth, same type, insurance, more this, more that. I think that'll just help to add to the program.
And we've had the other schools in the county ask about, participating in it and stuff too, so I do expect this to probably get a little
That's
bigger, and
great.
we'll work and help
Really
with
good.
that.
That's a great program.
We even had someone from, I think it was Stratford, reach out and asked for the program, so we sent it over to them so they could do it at their school.
That's cool.
It was, and of course, me being the natural born smart ass, I was, going around, like, Jason Pender had the furniture booth, and I was like, so can I get real furniture here, or is this all IKEA?
you name dropper.
He was pretty good about it. He's like, I got whatever you need. You tell me what your needs are, and I can make it happen. But so that program went really well, so we're excited to see that. We do have our Youth Advisory Council applications are open for next year, so that's ages 14 to 18, and they need to be in high school in Borger. So if you know anybody that's interested in that, we are taking dumpster art submissions for this year's round of dumpster art through June 7th. So Deidre has those entry forms. They're online or in here, and you just need to bring it down. Again, we already talked about Lemonade Day. June 15th is the next community garage sale at the Dome. So remember, we're just pretty much providing the space. You've got to bring the tables, but it's a way to get everybody kind of in one place. We will have trash containers there for the things that don't sell if you don't want to take them back home. But we've generally had pretty good responses with that. So on June 22nd is our first Farmers and Makers Market of the year. We're doing that in conjunction with Music on Main and the second Saturday drag. So there'll be lots going on June 22nd downtown. I invite everybody to that. We're still working on our Freedom on Main event, just about got that all lined out, so we'll have some more fun downtown for
Will the
that.
farmer's market be back at the Dome, or will it be on Main Street, or where? Main Street, okay.
And then June 14th, we're partnering with the Elks Lodge on a Flag Day ceremony. So they'll be doing their Flag Day ceremony at the Dome, and then we're going to support the event with probably some free hot dogs or cookies or some bouncy houses. Kind of give some people a reason to come, but you've got to go participate in the Flag Day ceremony, learn some about the flag and our
Very
nation.
interesting.
And then, so we're going to try to drive that. And then we are, if you haven't noticed, the Adult Skate Night has posted, so I have already told the employees that no employee on the clock will be able to skate. We are not taking a workers' comp claim.
And you can come to that and just be a spectator.
Oh, I'll
We'll
try
have some
it.
tables. No, you bring your skates, but the rest of us.
Do you have to bring skates, or do y'all have?
We don't have any, and we
Okay.
thought about reaching out to the skating rink and just seeing if we could borrow theirs, but I think they've already kind of, I don't know if there's somebody else that's maybe coming into the skating rink, that wasn't an option. And then me and Nicole both were like, we do not want to house 200 skates, so.
Just bring your own.
And they're pretty cheap on there. You can get some
Yeah.
cheap ones
Oh, yeah, you can
on
get some on
Amazon or
Amazon,
things like
super
that.
cheap.
We've had pretty good feedback with that, and he'll probably, he probably doesn't want to know, but I know a lot of people are excited because they've somehow convinced and talked DJ Terry D to come back.
Is this Mom's Day out, or is this, you said adult? I mean.
It's really,
Anyone?
anybody can come as
Okay.
long as they're over 21, since we'll have, it's the snow patch, right? The snow patch is coming, they're gonna do adult snow cones, so that way it just, if over 21, it ensures that if anybody is there and they're drinking, that everybody's of age and all of that, so, but anybody's welcome to come.
So that's an adult snow cone.
And it is kind of modeled after the mom prom. It's just not,
It's not just.
It's just
Mom.
not just
Yeah,
for
we just
moms.
couldn't do another mom prom.
It's
3
more
months
that we
later.
do get feedback a lot of times for, adult events.
Yeah.
We do a
Yeah,
lot of different
absolutely.
events for kids and things like that. And so the
Yeah.
feedback from some of the adult events have been pretty
Yeah.
positive. So we are trying to be more
Yeah.
organized with that.
And the youth center, this summer, they've got a lot planned. They've been working with the Youth Advisory Council to do some different type of youth events, so that'll be coming down the pipeline too.
And for those that want to know, yes, they have already started planning the next mom prom, knowing that
Yeah.
that will likely be
Yeah,
an
'cause,
annual
I mean,
event.
that is something that those mothers, boy, they loved getting away from their kids. No offense, but I mean, they did. It was exciting for them, man.
Mom's got
And they let it loose, didn't they? Right. It was fun to watch.
Now, we are trying to engage our community in a multitude of ways, and there again, I mean, from everything we do, from recognition from Nina and dispatch to the TCO recognition in the police department to last year's awards of the Community of the Year through the Planning Association and our ISO and wildfire mitigation efforts, and now, other schools wanting reality check programs and pushing all of this. I think we're definitely on the right path, and
I agree.
that's all I have. Any questions for the month's activities?
That was a great report, Garrett, thank you. And at this time, we'll go on to consent agenda items 6 through 8. If there's anyone that has anything, and if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept consent items 6 through 8 as written.
A second?
And all in favor? And they pass. And item 9, consider and take appropriate action to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
And all in favor?